Well, we're talking with Ryan Villopoto, who's going to be riding in the Monster Energy Cup
tomorrow out at Sam Boyd Stadium.
30,000 people expected.
Villopoto, how's it going, buddy?
All right.
Now, how do you stay focused?
What's the worst injury you've ever had?
Each year, the best riders on the planet assemble to fight for the Monster Energy AMA Supercross and FIM World Championship. Their 17-round saga will take place over 5 months in stadiums across North America. Amidst the most competitive fields in the history of the sport, Ryan Villopoto has won 2 straight Supercross championships. But the task of moving forward bears the weight of all that success has extracted from his life.
Do I love it? Yeah, I do love it. But this isn't everything to me. I'll walk tomorrow. I'll walk away.
I was on him a lot, pretty hard on him. I gotta get a drink.
What do you think of Twitter?
How do you train? And now that you're a top dog, do you feel more pressure?
What do you think is the biggest misconception of your sport?
In attempting to acquire a 3rd straight Supercross title in 2013, Villopoto is chasing a feat only previously accomplished by Ricky Carmichael, Bob Hanna, and 7-time champion Jeremy McGrath. But it is a goal that comes secondary to the hope of reuniting his family.
You look at basketball players, all the movie artists, every single person you think of fires their mom or their dad as their manager.
I might have hugged him a lot more and said, you know, I love you.
After 20 years of racing, each task begins with the thoughts of all that can and has gone wrong.
Villopoto went down, cartwheeled, a big end over end.
There is nothing Ryan can do today that will guarantee success. Tomorrow will be the same. Confidence only comes from daily excellence amidst the grind.
If anybody was to say that he's not the right guy or a good ambassador for the sport, then doesn't understand a champion. How can you be a better example than to get knocked down, get back up, and win again?
Dan and Chris Villopoto brought home their first child, Ryan, in the summer of 1988. Their first home was located in the town of Paulsbo, Washington. Known for its harbors, Scandinavian influences, and high amounts of precipitation, it seems an unlikely origin for a Supercross champion. The town was chosen for its beauty by Dan's father while traveling through the Puget Sound as the captain of an Alaskan fishing vessel.
It was just the way of life that we got brought up into it. My dad raced, my uncle raced, my grandpa still rides.
Motocross families in general are probably closer than most because you're like together 24 hours a day, sleeping at the track, and I mean, it's fun.
You know, it took a few years, 3 years for him to get going fast, but I knew from the very get-go as him racing 60s, all right, well, he's gonna be a professional.
Unknown to most parents at the beginning, the journey of taking a kid with racing potential to the pros will cost them more than $500,000 and years on the road. For the Villopotos, these costs were paid while constantly losing to Ryan's childhood rival, Mike Alessi.
Ryan Villopoto was an amateur racer, never won a race when they raced against us. Never. That creates a lot of hard feelings and animosity.
Ryan chasing Mike, he knew Mike was faster than him. Mike beat him straight up most of the time. It just made Ryan be pushed that much harder.
I'd tell Ryan all the time, try harder, put more effort into it. It never ended. It was just a grind.
As Ryan showed more potential, he began to receive racing support, first from Yamaha, then from Kawasaki. But with financial support comes the expectation that the rider will perform at races all over the country, like Loretta Lynn's and Ponca City.
2 weeks before we went to Ponca, my dad had got diagnosed with cancer, and he was really into Ryan's racing. I said, we're going on the road to Ponca and Loretta, Dad, and I'll come back and get you, and then I'll take you home. We were sitting in line at Ponca when my dad died.
Adding to the obstacles of their amateur racing program, Dan Villopoto's kidneys began to fail during Ryan's 80cc racing career. refusing to put the racing schedule on hold. The waste that his kidneys normally filtered from his blood grew to a deadly level.
The doctor says, if you don't go get this done and get on dialysis, you're gonna die in a week. That's what they said. So
He said, I need a list of all the dialysis centers because I'm going. He said he would rather die than quit. And I remember having to schedule dialysis every 2 days on the road from here to Tennessee to Oklahoma.
I told Ryan a couple times, I said, hey, let's quit this. Buy a ski boat. Do something else, you know? And he'd just keep saying, no, I'm racing. I said, okay, let's go. Let's get it done.
Well, I've never really seen my dad cry. And the only time I've seen him cry is when something with Ryan happens. People can sit and judge and say my parents are irresponsible about putting all their efforts in a kid in a dirt bike, but my parents knew if Ryan didn't make it, what else would Ryan do? Not to be mean to my brothers or anything, they just never liked school and they barely got through grade school. I feel like it's the greatest gift that my parents could have gave my brothers, is to back what they wanted to do.
Make sure your approach is right, that you're pumped to have these because these are tough for you. The more you push away and you hate that, you're tinkering. So embrace the conditions because that's the only way you adapt to it.
While training, Jake Weimer must walk the border between hope and despair. He, Ryan Villopoto, and their trainer Alden Baker are preparing for the 2013 Supercross season on Villopoto's property in Florida.
Ryan Villopoto has done it! Victory goes to Ryan Villopoto!
Villopoto has won the last 2 Supercross championships. On average, rides a Supercross track 1 to 2 seconds faster than Weimer, and is the main focus of Baker's attention.
We're doing this interview right now because of Ryan. It's for Ryan's show, right? If it bothers me that bad, I need to go win.
Ryan motivates himself out of how much he can stomp his foot down. I have the #1 plate, I own everyone. And then Jake, what are his options? Could you go back to California and be on your own? Or accept the challenge, embrace that almighty thing that you have weighing on you in a way.
The shadow where Jake Weimer currently spends his 9 to 5 workout sessions is the place where Villopoto's younger brother Tyler lived for the first 17 years of his life. Plagued by injuries for much of his career, Tyler is currently trying to race his way to Supercross in 2014 by racing Amsoil Arena Cross this year.
Pushing, I mean, some people might call it abuse. They're pushed. The kid's not going to make it unless they're pushed. Ryan was somebody that could take it. You pushed Tyler and he shut down. Pushed his bike up against the trailer, I'm done, I'm not riding.
I honestly didn't feel like I had the backing that I needed. You see all the attention that your brother's getting and the support from your parents. I rebelled and resented it and turned my back myself and tried to run the other way and do it myself, but as a kid, that's not gonna work.
Amateur riders can turn pro at 16, and as Ryan neared that age, his parents had spent so much money that a professional contract was a financial necessity, increasing the attention, resources, and pressure towards Ryan.
I was a spec builder and I ended up building a house. It took 3.5 years to build it. And then when we didn't have no money, I just sold the whole house for $350,000 and spent all that money going racing.
There's a point in time where we're all in or we're quitting. All in means he stops building houses and we go racing. So if I didn't do something or I didn't want to ride, my dad would tell me to get back out there and, keep riding.
Everybody sacrificed. I mean, earlier we were talking and you said, I didn't even know Ryan had a little sister. She kind of got drug around. She missed out on things she wanted to do. Ride horses, gymnastics, and it was like, you can't do this because we're going to the races.
Pretty much any kid that has made it, his parents were broke because all the rich kids, they don't make it because they're just not tough enough. You don't go to Loretta's and you're on your way home. you're bummed. But Pops has to drive 25 hours and he's really bummed. He's still swiping the card to get you home. You suck, son. Let me $100 to fill the motorhome up again.
After losing to Michael Lessie for nearly all of his amateur career, the sacrifices of the Villopoto family finally paid off when Ryan won his first Loretta Lynn's amateur championship in 2005 and signed a contract with the most dominant race team in the 250 class, Pro Circuit. The 250 class is where professional riders must prove themselves before moving up to the larger 450 machine.
Okay, bud, rip their heads off.
Pro Circuit team owner Mitch Payton managed the two greatest Supercross champions in the history of the sport, Ricky Carmichael and Jeremy McGrath. Villopoto's time with Payton would revolutionize his career.
Here comes Ryan Villopoto, he got it! The Monster Energy Kawasaki ride has just jumped into the #1 ride.
The transition from little bikes to big bikes really was a turning point. The first time the public got to see future greatness. He won a championship and then won another one and another one.
During Ryan's rookie season in 2006, he finished 3rd overall in Supercross and won an outdoor national championship. No rider in history has matched the success that Ryan achieved in 2007. He won the West Coast 250 Supercross Championship, the Outdoor National Championship, and the overall victory at the Motocross of Nations.
Can you imagine being on a 250F against the best in the world of 250s and 450s, and then you hole shot both motos, and then you lead every single lap, both motos? Like, that kid killed it. Phenomenal. I'm saying it might not ever happen again.
It's a perfect recipe for disaster. Making 6 figures. Well, then about 17, what's that mean? Ooh, girls, right? Then you're in Southern California. Ooh, yeah. Junior, you don't want to live with mom and dad anymore. I don't know that I've really met an 18-year-old. Do you want to live at home right now? No. That wouldn't matter if the parents were loaded, but they're not. You done spent everything you had, and there's other siblings. It's a recipe for disaster.
The older you get, the contracts, the money, does it get harder with family?
Yeah, it does. You have all those people that come up to you and say, oh, I wish I had your life, or I wish I was in your shoes. Well, it's not as glamorous and easy as it looks, that's for sure.
For Supercross racers, maturity is forced at an early age. At 16, 17, and 18 years old, Ryan Villopoto was the primary source of income for his family.
Ryan Villopoto wins another one!
2 years into racing for Mitch Payton in the 250 class, Villopoto claimed 3 championships and was widely regarded as one of the best racers in the world. Years earlier, his father Dan had liquidated his Washington-based construction business for the sake of Ryan's amateur career and had relocated the family to Southern California.
You're able to turn pro at 16. And if you sign a deal for 200 grand, you're 16, but you actually become 21. Just like that. That's basically the way that the parents have to start looking at it. Well, you're doing this for media, you're doing this, you have to go here, you have to fly there. Now it's a job, it's real. You're supposed to do that and then not do these other things. Go to parties, you know, whatever it is. You're supposed to not do that, but you have to fulfill all those other obligations. I mean, we started butting heads then. Mainly at that time it was with my mom.
Were we strict? Yeah. But I think he wouldn't be where he's at unless that strictness was there. Would I do some things different? I might have not been any less strict, but I might have hugged him a lot more and said, you know, I love you.
You don't think you did that enough?
You did it.
Yeah, I did it, but just let him know that, you know, I don't know.
I remember there was one really big fight, and it was the first time I've ever seen Ryan cry. And my cousin looked at me and said, you guys are moving.
He said he wanted Kylie to not grow up being a track girl. He wanted her to go to school and have her own life, not the track to be her life, and I understand that.
I guess I'm a little bitter. Not necessarily mad that I had to move. I'm more mad that our relationship disintegrated when I had to move. That's more what I'm bitter about. And it was to the point where I couldn't watch my brother's races on the TV.
Following the departure of his mother and sister to the family home in Washington, Dan remained in California for 2 years, serving as Ryan's practice bike mechanic. In that time, Ryan won a 4th championship in the 250 class and suffered a harsh transition to the 450 class in 2009.
His fitness wasn't the best fitness. I don't think it's a secret.
Down goes Villopoto. Well, that dropped Villopoto down to 12.
The year included a 3-race absence due to mono and 5 races in which he finished outside the top 5.
Villopoto currently riding at 14.
On top of his fitness, Villopoto struggled to understand and apply the new language of suspension settings necessary to handle the increased power of his 450 machine.
He didn't know a lot about setting up a bike and how important it was. You got to respect the thing a lot more. He had one of his first big crashes was in the whoops. He grabbed the handful and it threw him down hard, and it scared him.
When Ryan returned from his bout with mono, he redeemed himself by winning 2 out of the last 3 races of the season. But conflict with his father regarding his growing number of influences and desire to take control of his finances had reached a tipping point. Bobby Nichols, Ryan's agent of several years, would address any of Ryan's financial concerns, and Ryan had been in a relationship with his now wife Kristen for 3 years.
In the industry, the people, well, that's your money, and mom and dad, you're out. They don't owe you a dime. And I've heard that. It's not that they owe you, but why can't you benefit from the success that you both had?
If you look at your kid and say, okay, we're partners in this thing, he's automatically going to turn around and say, well, you ain't out there riding and risking your life.
And the easiest person to blame is the only person that was never around before, which was me. If he asked how much money's in my savings account, they immediately thought it was the girl that told him to ask.
He was going to be that way with any female. So it's not like it's just, you know, her.
I was an outsider who's now become an insider, and now I'm going to start doing things for their son that they've done their whole life. To have Ryan put his faith in me is probably an incredibly hard pill to swallow.
It's kind of weird that now that my kid's successful, my business is gone. If I had a successful construction company and I brought my son in, you're going to be my partner. You're vice president. Here's the salary, and then I'll teach you how to do this, and this will be your business. What would be the difference?
You know, I always felt like, man, if you would just sit back, then I'll just write you a check.
Here comes Villopoto! Villopoto wins a stunning race!
Everybody is in Ryan's ear telling him what to do, you know, and it's like, Ryan's trying to grow up, he wants to be independent, he wants to learn what it is to control these things. It was bad and it was miserable.
Absolutely demolishes Ryan Villopoto and pushes him off the track.
I think it's just the minds get clouded, then get scared because there is nothing else to fall back on. Everything they did build, business-wise, is gone. The only thing to lean on is us.
The money, the fame, it's the root of all evil.
Yeah, it was hard. I was at Glen Helen riding, and just told him, like, kind of in between riding or right after I was done, you know, like, hey, you're gonna go home, and I'll still pay you, but you're gonna go home, and I'm gonna do it on my own.
It was pretty tough, pretty hard to swallow.
Villopoto deep in the field, trying to find his way through.
After finishing 6th overall in the 2009 Supercross season, Ryan Villopoto's physical condition was further exposed when he tore his ACL 2 weeks into the summer. Between 2008 and 2010, Villopoto went through 3 trainers and parted ways with his mother and father, who had provided much of the daily structure throughout his amateur career. Kristen Ryan's current wife and girlfriend at the time, was awarded the task of reinstating a successful daily routine.
When we first met, they all seemed to have a pretty good relationship. Once I came around and then that all kind of tore apart, I kind of felt responsible. And I mean, to this day, I kind of still do feel responsible. I just started doing everything I could at that point for Ryan, making sure that everything in the house was cleaned up, every flight was booked. If his trainer said he can only eat fish every day, it's got to be prepared this way, you better believe I'm doing that. If I have to get on the bike with him, I'm gonna go, or at least I'm gonna push him out the door.
In the 2010 Supercross season, Villopoto lost to incoming rookie Ryan Dungey the opening 3 rounds. But after charging past Josh Hill and Dungey at round 4 in San Francisco, Villopoto won 6 out of the next 8 races and closed within 11 points of Dungey's championship lead.
Ryan Villopoto lights the candles and takes a win.
He just reeled them off one after another, and he was leading start to finish. Then we get to St. Louis, and Dungey had the whole shot, and Ryan was riding great.
Villopoto's charging. The 2 is coming after him. These 2 title heavyweights know it's mano a mano.
Ryan knew he needed to get by him, and he tried to make an aggressive move.
Now Villopoto runs him in hard, takes him down. The 2 leaders go down. Villopoto's your leader.
Dungey, if I was him inside that helmet, I would be so fired